Kenya continues to lose girls and interfere with their productive and social life through a cultural practice of female genital mutilation. Head of FGM unit in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Christine Nanjala, says FGM is criminalized under the Prohibition of FGM Act 2011.
The clamor has been going on. In 2011, we came up with what we call the Prohibition of FGM Act. And it has created offenses from Section 19 of the Act. It has created several offenses that arise from the FGM, the practice of FGM. Now, we have not fully implemented the Act, and that is what we are now working towards. But however, what we have done, there are several interventions so that we've put in place. And to this end, we have now the anti-FGM unit, prosecution unit in the Office of the DPP that comprises of 17 prosecutors. We have been going out to the field, and we still are going out to the field. And ours is a two-pronged approach where we are doing a bit of sensitization and profiling.
FGM was further criminalized in 2001 with the enactment of Children's Act Section 19, which prohibits exposure to harmful cultural practices. But amidst the stringent laws, FGM is still happening.
In addition to that, also realize that this is something that has been a cultural practice for generations on end. And with the realization that what they're doing is a crime, they have changed tact. Like, for instance, some time back we used to have celebrations before they circumcise the girls. We no longer have the celebrations. Nowadays, they don't do it during the day, they do it at night. Some of them take the children across the border to Tanzania to undergo the cut and come back. Like, there's even a story, we've seen stories from West Pokot where we're having girls also now coming in from Uganda to Kenya to do the cut, and then they go back. So the process, the whole thing is just changing with time. And so it's also for us now to also discover what are these new tactics that are being used. The other day we were being informed by one of the chiefs in the area that what they have done now, they circumcise the girls, immediately the girls leave school, and then they hold a ceremony after the girl is well, and they say that it is actually the boy who's being circumcised, whereas in real sense, it's a ceremony held for the girl. So they are changing tact, and that is becoming harder to get them.
According to Kajiado Deputy County Prosecution Counsel Peter Mwenda, there are logistical and evidential challenges that make it difficult to secure FGM convictions.
In the interests of justice, I will grant the state 7 days within which to complete their investigations. The matter will be mentioned on 23rd of April for further orders.
Some of these girls, even the victims, do view this as a cultural activity. They do not view it as a crime which has been perpetrated against them. So that is the issue we are having with the evidence. Most often you find that these are minors, and that also gives us a challenge in collecting the evidence, since the perpetrators most of the time are their guardians or their parents. So most of the time they do not want to go against their parents. They do not want their parents to be locked up. They do not want to seem like they are reporting their family members. So that has really been a challenge with regards to your question about witnesses. We have very many cultural aspects which affect even getting the circumcises. You'll find in some communities they are really protected. They are really hidden because maybe there are two of them and they're actually paid for the work that they do. So there's also a financial benefit that they get. So the problem has always been getting evidence against them, evidence which would stand in a court of law.
This was quite evident in a recent case in which 13-year-old Rahima Ndagusa died after undergoing the cut. The authorities got to know about the incident because her cousin, who was to undergo the cut with her, managed to escape and report the incident. Kajiado Central Division Assistant County Commissioner Abdullahi Osman says they faced many difficulties while trying to access Ndagusa's homestead.
This area is very vast actually, and very remote inaccessible areas. For example, if you talk of Torosay, there are no towns. They live in manyatas. There's the Maasai manyatas. They are scattered all over now, up to the border of Tanzania. And this terrain and the land terrain is not very good. Small vehicles, unless four-wheel drive, you cannot access this area where these offenses take place. So if the chiefs report, for example, early hours of the morning, like 10, he has no network. He has to look for network. He has to trek for like 2 hours, 3 hours to access network. Then when he gets network, he communicates the problem. If you leave Kajiado town, probably if you don't have a four-wheel drive or you don't have a good car to access the place, it is very difficult to get the perpetrators, of who will get a clue of the story, and they will escape immediately across the border or sometimes far off places, and it is very difficult to follow them up.
Lydia Legoina, who works with a local NGO in Kajiado, feels that the fight against FGM will not succeed without the support of local leaders.
Leaders wanaogopa wakija kusema watu wao watawakana, labda next time hawatapewa kura, and even some leaders are also doing it. So if you are not a good role model, huwezi kumwambia mtu asifanye kitu.
Though incidences of female genital mutilation have declined over the years, the practice continues to pose a threat to the health and life of the girl child in vulnerable communities. The big question is, why is FGM taking place despite numerous interventions, including tough legislation? How can difficulties faced in securing convictions of perpetrators of FGM be tackled? For Capital News, I am Judy Kaberia.
One